What's up, guys? As promised, I am back with the updated build guide for my Frozen Poison Trap Rogue. Had a lot of fun putting this together this season. This is also, again, my first build guide, so bear with me here, but I wanted to show you the final version. If you've checked out my leveling guide, 1 to 60, you're going to see that the build has changed quite a bit. This isn't going to be some like crazy, pit level 150 build. This is more of just like a really fun build. It's really good for Infernal Hordes, for the Undercity, clearing screens real quick, and it does pretty well in bossing as well. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you the updated version. It looks very different than what was going on 1 to 60, so let's just jump right into it with our skill tree here. First off, just 2 points real quick so we can move along. Gonna put one rank into Twisting Blades here, and move up to Enhanced Twisting Blades and Advanced Twisting Blades. We really only use Twisting Blades to reduce our cooldowns. It's not our damage dealer by any means, but it is a useful utility to reduce those cooldowns, because all of our other skills are on CD besides Twisting Blades. Going further down here, we're going to put 1 point into Stutter Step. Critically striking an enemy grants 5% movement speed. I just threw a point into this because crit isn't really our big mechanic in this build. We do end up getting good crit strike chance and crit strike damage, but our big ones are really going to be damage over time, vulnerable, lucky hit, poison, and chill or frozen. But regardless, we're going to throw a point into here because movement speed is very important as a rogue. We're going to put 2 points into target practice here. Your critical strike chance with marksman and cutthroat skills is increased by 6%, just to get a little bit more crit strike chance. Our Dance of Knives is a cutthroat skill, and we're going to be spamming that pretty much constantly. We're going to be holding down right click. So that's a nice little boost to the crit chance for Dance of Knives. I'm going to put 3 points into Sturdy here, give us some defense, 18% close damage reduction. This is nice to have because we are going to be zooming through the map and we're going to be up close and personal a lot of the time with our enemies. So this is some good defense. And then 2 points into Siphoning Strikes. Like I said again, lucky hit is going to be a big one for us. Our lucky hit chance is going to be at 100 or above while we're moving. So critical strike chance against close enemies have up to an 85% chance to heal you for 2% of your max life. So not only are we getting a damage reduction with close, we are also getting healing mechanic as well. Moving on to the agility tree, we're going to put 1 point into Caltrops. Caltrops is a skill that wasn't in the build guide, or the leveling glide rather, but it is a trap skill, and we are getting a ton of trap damage with this build. We're going to go Enhance Caltrops. Enemies take 10% increased damage from you, increased by 5% each second up to 45%. And then Methodical Caltrops. I actually had no idea that you can make it chill enemies, but this is perfect because, as you'll see as the guide goes on, we want to be chilling and poisoning enemies as much as possible. Caltrops now deals cold damage and chills enemies for 25% per second. So this really helps adding that chill effect to our enemies here. Going to put 3 points into Weapon Mastery just so we can get some passive buffs from our daggers, our swords, and our crossbow. Again, Dance of Knives is going to be our main skill that we spam. It's not going to be our main damage dealer, however. It really is just going to be used to spread the poison. We're going to go Enhanced Dance of Knives. Every 34 meters you travel while channeling Dance of Knives grants you 4 charges. This is going to help keep it up constantly. And then Discipline Dance of Knives. Each Dance of Knives slows enemies by 25% for 4.3 seconds and has a 35% chance to pierce. You're going to see we have a ton of crowd control with this build. Ton of crowd control. So this really helps with that. Now going down here, we're going to put 5 points into Poison Trap. Poison Trap is going to be our main source of damage. You'll see that as we go through the map, we're just going to be spitting poison traps out everywhere. Take Enhanced Poison Trap, which knocks down enemies. Again, crowd control, knockdown. We're gonna play off of knockdown enemies a lot. And countering Poison Trap has 96% chance to reset your imbuement skill, which is going to be Poison Imbuement, which is going to allow us to keep that poison application up constantly. We're just going to be constantly poisoning, throwing out poison traps. It's really, really fun, really cool to watch. 2 points into Exploit, you deal 16% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies. And then 3 points into Malice. Again, this is going to go into our crowd control. You deal 9% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. Everything's going to be vulnerable. And 9% increased damage to knockdown enemies. Everything's going to be knocked down, chilled, or frozen. So this is really going to help with our damage here. And these bonuses can be applied simultaneously. Moving over to our imbuement tree, again, poison imbuement is going to be the other skill that we put 5 points into. We're going to take enhanced poison imbuement. Casting poison imbuement generates 30 energy, increase 2 for each nearby poison enemy. Everything's going to be poison, so our energy is going to be up constantly. Not that we really care because we don't really use energy other than for twisting blades, but it is nice to have. And then we're going to go mix poison imbuement. Poison imbued skills have up to a 30% chance to reduce the cooldown of poison imbuement by 2 seconds. So basically, poison imbuement's always going to be up, poison trap's always going to be up, Dance of Knives is always going to be imbued with poison, and we're just going to be constantly spamming those 3. Coming over here, these should be pretty self-explanatory. 3 points into Alchemical Advantage. Dealing poison damage increases your attack speed and lucky hit chance by 3% for 8 seconds. So again, lucky hit chance is something that we really want to buff and stack with this build. Deadly Venom, you deal 18% increased poisoning damage. That's an easy one, 3 points into that. And then I put 2 points into Debilitating Toxins. Poison enemies deal 10% less damage. If you're having trouble surviving, you can always put 3 points into this, get a little bit more damage reduction. 3 points into Precision Imbuement. Imbued skills gain 9% in critical strike chance. Again, just increase that crit strike chance a bit. Even though it's not our main thing we're going for, it is nice to have. Moving over here, Frigid Finesse, you deal 15% increased damage to chilled enemies, and this bonus is increased to 30% against frozen enemies. You're going to see not only are we applying poison with this build, but we're going to be constantly applying chill and freezing our enemies. Chilling weight, chilled enemies have their movement speed further reduced by up to 20%, and then we gain 10% increased chill effect. So again, more crowd control and more chill application. Coming over to our ultimate part of the skill tree, we're going to put 3 points into Alchemist Fortune. Non-physical damage you deal has a 15% increased lucky hit chance. Again, we're dealing ton of poison damage, and we want as much lucky hit as possible. I have 3 points into Trap Mastery and then an additional 4 from items. After a trap skill activates, you gain 28% increase critical strike chance for 4 seconds. So as you'll see, our crit strike chance and lucky hit chance aren't the highest like when we're just chilling, but when we're actually going and using our skills, it's just going to shoot up. We're going to be critting, we're going to be getting lucky hit constantly, as well as vulnerable. We're going to take Death Trap. I really changed from Rain of Arrows to Death Trap just because enemies that are hit by our Death Trap through Prime Death Trap are going to take 20% increased damage from your trap skills for 11.858 seconds. You're going to see through some of our items that we're actually going to have passive Death Traps, and then we're going to be able to cast Death Trap ourselves. So again, it's just going to really help with that multiplicative damage. We're going to go into Supreme Death Trap. Enemies that resist Death Traps pull. So Death Trap pulls enemies in. The ones that are resist that pull, they're going to get hit again for 60% of Death Trap's damage. Now again, Death Trap isn't our biggest damage dealer, but it does allow for the enemies affected by Death Trap to take more damage from us in other places. And then lastly, before we get to the passive tree here, we put 1 point into Second Wind. Every 100 energy you spend grants 15% of your max life as barrier. This is nice because we do use barrier as a defensive tool a couple ways. This is one of the ways. However, we really only put a point into this so we can get to haste. While at above 50% max energy, you gain 15% increased movement speed, and while below 50% max energy, we gain a 15% increased attack speed. So because all of our skills are on cooldown, we usually have full energy. So it just gives us another movement speed bonus here. As for our passive, we're going to take Victimize. This is based off lucky hit. Again, our lucky hit is going to be out of control. Dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy. Again, we're going to be applying vulnerable constantly. Has up to a 50% chance to cause an explosion. dealing 16,276 damage of the same type to them and surrounding enemies. So most of the time this is going to be poison. Enemies hit by Victimizes explosions then take an additional 75% increased damage for you for 3 seconds. So just more multiplicative damage, more effects stacking, and you'll see that the enemies just, their health bars just melt away. So that's our skill tree. I'm going to jump into the specialization here. I use prep just to, again, because most of our skills are on CD, this just helps get our cooldowns reduced so we can have our skills constantly up. There may be times when your stuff, you like misclick or you mistime some skills, everything is on cooldown, it's really annoying, but prep can help with that. Let's jump into the seasonal mechanic here. We're going to be using Glacial Nimbus to give our catalyst a chill effect. Again, we want to be chilling enemies. And the catalyst we're going to use is Disintegrate. Form an arcane conductor that emits a persistent beam between itself and you, dealing a steady blitz of 1,475,426 damage over 8 seconds. This is insane. It really is what helps the build function. I don't know how good it would be without this, to be honest with you. But this is going to allow us to constantly chill enemies further and just apply more damage. We're going to use Sapping Crux. Catalyst applies vulnerable, so I mentioned earlier we're going to be applying vulnerable to everyone. This is a great way to do that. You'll see we're just constantly like circling enemies with the beam to apply the vulnerable. Invoking our catalyst is actually going to grant us a barrier. I have the catalyst on poison imbuement, and we can spam poison imbuement. So we're pretty much always going to have a barrier equal to 50% of your max life for 4 seconds. After it dissipates, its essence is bottled back up. So this is one of the ways we're going to be able to keep barrier up all the time. And then finally, I'm using Frigid Heart. Your catalyst gains a specialized freeze effect that lasts 5 seconds. So this is going to help us freeze enemies. You're going to see through some of our aspects that we're going to be dealing increased damage to frozen enemies, so this is super important. Your disintegrate beams freeze all affected enemies for 5 seconds. Excuse me, after we evade, and also grant 15% dodge chance. That's not like the biggest part. What we really want is the freeze effect. That's going to be really helpful there. So now that we went through our skill tree and we went through the seasonal power, let me run you through the gear. Now I've gotten pretty lucky with my gear. As you'll see right off the bat here, we did get Endariel's Visage. I did get this to drop. It fits into the build perfectly, right? A poison build, up to 20% chance to trigger a Poison Nova that applies 26,000 poisoning damage over 5 seconds to enemies in the area. This also gives us some nice attack speed and more poison res, and a nice little buff to all of our stats. So, you know, an easy slot here for Endariel's Visage. As far as our chest piece, we're going to be using the unique Scoundrel's Leathers. This gives our trap skills the ability to be thrown, so we can like target certain enemies before we actually get to them, and it causes our traps, so our poison trap, caltrops, to actually spawn a death trap every 10 seconds when cast, which grants us 30% increased damage for 5 seconds, so just more multiplicative damage. As far as our runes for the chest piece, I'm using Bach Lock. Every 40 meters we travel, we're going to invoke Barbarian's Challenging Shout, which is going to taunt enemies and reduce our damage. So just little more defense here. This also makes our trap skills count as core skills. So if you get any like plus ranks to core skills, it's just going to add more ranks to all your trap skills. Gloves are concerned, we're going to be using the unique gloves, Bands of Icarus Rose, which is going to give us the ability to have 4 more poison traps deployed at any given moment. Without this, you're limited to 4, so with this, we're going to have up to 8. It's also going to give us a nice little chance for the poison traps to cast twice. In addition to that, the aspect Poison Trap always deals its full damage over 3 seconds, and its benefits from all of its upgrades, which are increased by 140%. So just a ton more multiplicative damage here for Poison Trap. Its cooldown is also reduced by prep, so that's a really nice little bonus that we get from prep. And again, Poison Trap will be up all the time. Now, as for our pants, we're going with the aspect explosions from the victimized key passive grants you a barrier for 12.5 seconds of your max life for 5 seconds. So again, another way for us to get barrier. You're going to see we pretty much are going to have barrier at all times. Victimize is going to be going off constantly, giving us more barrier on top of our other ways of generating barrier. So nice little defensive aspect there. As for our tempers, I was having trouble with resistances, so I did have to temper Shadow Res on here. But again, we want lucky hit chance everywhere we can. Right now, our crit strike chance is only sitting at 25%, and our lucky hit is sitting at 63%. But when we actually get going, you're going to see these numbers increase greatly. And you'll see here, damage with trap, that's our big one. Getting a little ahead of myself there. As far as the boots go, I got this nice double affix boost that gave us some ranks to Dance of Knives. Not really important, but I'm not going to not use it, right? I used the Doom Treads here. You gain 42% increased movement speed when moving away from slowed or chilled enemies. We are constantly slowing and chilling enemies, so this is a nice additional movement speed bonus for us. As far as the weapon, again, like I said, I'd like to use a bow, but haven't gotten a good bow yet. You're going to see here that we got really lucky with our greater affixes. I hit damage over time, which is very important for this build. I tempered poison trap duration and damage to poison enemies. On the boots, I also tempered movement speed and again lucky hit chance. As far as our legendary aspect here, poison trap bursts for an additional 54% of its total normal damage when it triggers. If that critically strikes, you deal 74% increased poison damage for 9 seconds. So again, you saw all the ways we boost our crit. You saw all the ways we boost our poison. So this is just going to be more poison damage every time poison trap bursts, right? So just more multiplicative. I'm using the amethyst, I believe, the grand amethyst to get more damage over time. For our offhands here, our first sword, we're going to have knives from Dance of Knives have a 50% chance to shatter into 6 shards of metal on hit, dealing 1300 physical damage. We're not really worried about the physical damage here. We're more concerned with the chance to split into different shards, because it's going to help us spread poison to more enemies, increase the chance of poison traps spawning, and just overall apply more status effect and crowd control effect. Dance of Knives now consumes combo points, granting up to 3 additional charges. That's not applicable. We don't use combo points. We use prep. As you can see here, we hit the greater affix on damage over time again. Love to see it. And we tempered poison trap duration and damage to poison enemies again with an amethyst damage over time. Need a grand gem for this. Haven't gotten it yet. Need to do a little bit more farming. As far as our other sword, we're using Azir's Wrath. This is going to give us a nice buff to all of our stats, as well as a 40% chance to deal almost 10,000 cold damage. You know, with a full max roll, you're getting over 11,000 here. That's a lucky hit. Again, our lucky hit's insane, so we're going to be applying more cold damage. And then your cast with this weapon apply vulnerable for 3 seconds and chill enemies. So not only are our Dance of Knives going to apply poison, but it's also going to apply vulnerable and chill as well. The amethyst for damage over time. Going on to our jewelry here, we are using the chilled enemies poisoned by poison imbuement will further be chilled for 20% per second, and then we deal 36% additional poison damage to frozen enemies. So as you can see, we don't have max rolls for everything yet, but you can see how this will multiply for us because we are chilling everything, right? So chilled enemies are poisoned by poison imbuement, things poisoned and everything's chilled. So more multiplicative damage here. I got the GA on up to 101% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. So again, more vulnerable application. Tempered vulnerable damage, and we tempered death trap cooldown just to get a little bit of cooldown reduction on our death trap over here. As far as our gem, I'm using the Horadric, the seasonal gem. Gives us 120 armor and 6 res to all elements. After you deal damage over time to an enemy, they take 0.33% more damage over time from you forever. So again, more multiplicative damage. We're constantly dealing damage over time. As this ring, I got really lucky here with this triple GA'd. We got a GA on the lucky hit, the damage over time, and the resource cost reduction, with that being the weakest one, but the damage over time again. So we have 1, 2, 3 greater affix damage over time, which really, really helps with our build. We tempered damage to poison enemies and death trap cooldown on this as well. And as far as the aspect, you deal 39% increased damage to enemies who are chilled or frozen. Again, everything's chilled or frozen. Your basic skills are always cold imbued. We can ignore that. We don't use basic skills. And for this piece of jewel, we are also using another Horadric gem. You deal 20% more elemental damage and take 10% more. So again, we're dealing tons of chill and poison. As far as our amulet here, we are using lucky hit. Poison imbued skills have up to a 50% chance to deploy a poison trap while you have poison trap equipped. So like I was saying earlier, like we're going to be spitting poison traps out everywhere. We can cast it, but this is really the way that it's going to be cast. GA on 88 on damage, obviously. We got a nice 4 to trap mastery. That's where we got all those extra ranks to it in the skill tree there. And then as far as our other temper, poison imbuement lasts for 3 casts, and we tempered more poison damage to poison enemies. So yeah, that's the gear. The last, oh, I forgot about the last jewel. Is again, we're using another Horadric gem here. While you have 2 or more Arcana from the School of Control equipped, you gain 45% crowd control duration and 30% lucky hit chance. So this is really what's helping us get so much lucky hit chance. And again, crowd control. We're doing so much crowd control damage as it is, or crowd controls, that the extra duration is really noticeable. And you'll notice here we need to have 2 Arcana from the School of Control. So I have Sapping Crooks is from the School of Control, and Frigid Heart is from the School of Control, which activates that gem here. I do also always have a potion up. I run Elixir of Fortitude. I run Redamine Buzz to get an increase in max life along with Fortitude. You'll see here we pop this and we pop this. We get over 5,000 life. We're going to use Soothing Spices to increase our resistances. This was helpful when when I was having trouble with resistances, but now I have my resistances all figured out, luckily. So this, we're really just taking the bonus experience. And then the last one here is going to be Spiral Morning for an increase to all of our stats and more increased experience. So when I am running anything, I have this potion up and I have my 3 incenses up as well. So you can see here, you know, we're just going to be doing a ton of poison, bunch of chill, crowd control, and all the while we're going to be spitting out poison traps. As far as mercenaries go, I use Verana to get the movement speed, and then down here she does increase our attack speed. Dance of Knives, attack speed increases the damage done rather than the number of knives thrown. So attack speed does buff the damage here again a little bit, which was nice earlier, but again, Dance of Knives is really just to apply poison. As far as our reinforcement, I'm using Subo, Trip Mines, Scuba Scatters, 3 explosive traps that each arm after 1 second. I'm using this because it's explosive traps, so I'm not entirely sure if all my trap buffs get applied to this, but I have it up just in case. He does it when I use Twisting Blades. It's really secondary. Feel free to change this. Like, I don't really know. If you think of something better or find something better, you know, feel free, obviously. And then the last thing we're gonna do here is gonna be our Paragon board. So as far as the Paragon boards, I have it set up like this. First board, I went, you know, the basic board, I'm using Frost Feeder. For every 5 dexterity purchased within range, you deal 9.7 increased damage to chilled enemies, with an additional bonus of gaining 20% increased chill effect. So you can see here we're getting 77.6% increased damage to chilled enemies and 8.8 damage to chilled enemies. This, obviously, we have a bunch of dex nodes that we can apply more points to. You're going to notice something with this build. It does take a good amount of investment before it really gets going. Right, I'm at Paragon 229, and you can see how much more potential chill damage we can actually get if we grind this all the way out to 300, which I don't plan on doing, but if you want to, feel free. Moving up here, I then took this second board here, the Deadly Ambush board, is going to allow us to deal 30% increased critical strike damage to enemies affected by our trap skills. Enemies are constantly going to be affected by trap skills, so this is really going to help with that increased damage. As far as the glyph here, I'm using Bane. For every 5 strength purchased within range, we deal 10.7 increased poison damage. And then an additional bonus for getting poison damage effects have a 15% chance to deal double the amount of damage over their duration. So more multiplicative poison damage here, 73% increased poison damage with an additional 6.4% increased poison damage. From here, I then went to the left, and I took the Eldritch Bounty board. You gain 3% Poison, Shadow, and Cold maximum resistance, and we deal 30% increased Poison, Shadow, and Cold damage. We are literally dealing Poison, Cold, and Shadow damage through Death Trap, so this is perfect for the build. I use Snare here as well. For every 5 intelligence purchased within range, our trap skills deal 13.3% increased damage. And an additional bonus, we get non-ultimate trap skills have 25% increased radius. That's nice for Caltrops and Poison Trap. They're just going to be a little bit bigger. So as you can see here, we're getting an additional 157% increased trap damage, as well as 12.2% trap damage on top of that. So nice little bonus here. I then went up here and took the Exploit Weakness board. Lucky hit, hitting a vulnerable enemy has up to a 60% chance to increase your damage by 1% for 25 seconds, up to 25%. At 25 stacks, the bonus remains for 6 seconds before expiring. So again, we are constantly going to be applying vulnerable, and our lucky hit is going to be out of control, so this is always going to be going off. We also are going to use Tracker. So for Tracker, every 5 intelligence purchased within range, we're going to deal 9.7% increased damage to poison targets. Again, everything is going to be poisoned. An additional bonus, we get poison damage effects last 40% longer. So as you can see here, we're getting an additional 143% damage to poison enemies and an additional 5.7% damage flat, with our poison damaging effects lasting 40% longer. Finishing this board, I then went over this way and picked up the final board here. Dance Macabre, casting of ability or subterfuge skill increases your damage by 30% for 10 seconds. Honestly, subterfuge is going to be our poison trap, which we do spam a good amount. So it helps. It's a little bit of extra damage, nothing crazy. But what's really nice is going to be ambush. For every 5 strength purchased within range, we deal 10.7% increased damage to targets affected by trap skills. Additionally, enemies affected by trap skills take 12% increased damage from you. And we get an increased trap skill damage by 12.8%. It's an additional 116% damage to trapped enemies and 12.8% damage to trapped enemies. In addition, enemies also affected by our trap skills take 12% increased damage from you. Again, enemies are constantly going to be affected by our trap skills. As you can see here, I do have, so this is for every 5 decks. I do have dex nodes I can still fill out here. I believe I can also increase our poison damage here by picking up these strength nodes. Here I have maxed out our intelligence nodes. So I took all of our possible intelligence nodes here as well as here. So these are maxed out. I'm currently trying to take all of the strength nodes here to max out our trap skills, but once I do that, I'll move over here, take all the strength I can to increase poison damage further, and take all the dex I can to increase damage to chilled targets even further. So yeah, that's really it. Pretty simple build, takes some investment, but once you get it up there and you get all these glyphs in, get your legendaries, and start filling in the additional nodes here, it really starts to pick up, and the build is really, really fun to play. Again, like I said, you're not going to be pushing pit 150 or even 100. You might even cap out around like 65, 70. I think right now I'm at 65. So nothing like super crazy, but it is just a really fun build to play, and visually it's one of the coolest builds I've ever made in Diablo 4. So just to showcase the build itself, I'm going to do a pit run for you guys. Again, this build can handle all tier Torment 4 content. I'm in Torment 2 just for efficiency purposes. I'm currently just trying to finish masterworking everything and, you know, level up our Paragon so we can finish the boards. I don't know if I'm going to go the full send and do everything because the grind to 300 is unreal. But as long as you know, there's time left in Season 9, I'm probably just going to work on this character. Don't plan on rolling anything else. But yeah, if you like the build, I definitely recommend trying it out. It's super fun. Let me know how it goes. And to finish here, I'm just going to do a Torment 4 pit just to show you, you know, how the build works and to see it in action. Thing here, I'm just going to run a pit for you guys just to show you the build in action. Again, if you like the build and you try it out, please let me know how you like it, and if you changed anything or if you have ideas how to make it better, that would be awesome. Please leave those in the comments as well. But that's all. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Gonna mute my mic so you guys don't have to listen to me. All right, and there it is, guys. As you can see, just poison pools, poison traps, death traps, caltrops, frozen explosions everywhere. I really hope you like the build. I really hope you try the build. And if you do, I really hope you tell me how it goes. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.